Right. Question now for Bill King from the audience once again, and it's right in your wheelhouse, Mr. King. The city's debt for unfunded employee pension and health care benefits continues to grow. It's about $5 billion, the last I checked my watch. Are you in favor of maintaining the city's fixed benefit pension plan, or would you change it to a fixed contribution plan, which is similar to a 401k? And what would you do about our outstanding pension obligations? There it is, across the plate.
Who do I pay for this question? First of all, I want to recognize somebody that came in. Jim Murphy is back there, our state representative. Jim, stand up. Let me tell you what, Jim has been one of the few people in Austin willing to stand up on the pension issue and actually try to get some reform through Austin. Jim, I want to thank you for that because I know that was a courageous, tough stand for you to take. Look, our pension system is not sustainable. But at the same time, I don't believe in breaking promises that we've made to people. The first step we've got to make is to take new employees and move them from defined benefit to defined contribution plans. This is something that the private sector did 2 or 3 decades ago. That's the first step. When you're in a hole, stop digging. We are still going to have $4 or $5 billion to work out. But the city's growing. I think there's some ways to refinance that and do some cash discounts and get out of that and still honor our obligations. But to continue to make these unsustainable promises to the young people that are coming to work for the city of Houston today is irresponsible. It's irresponsible to the taxpayers, and it's irresponsible to those young employees, and we need to stop it ASAP.
All right.
Very good. Marty McVeigh, 30 seconds to respond.
Thanks. I agree with that. And, you know, as I've said many times that the first thing we got to do is to stop digging ourselves in this financial hole. We need to bond out the debt and move forward. We cannot go back in time and negotiate with firefighters and police officers after services have been rendered. We need to have a plan moving forward and negotiate for the future, not for arrears. These people have already given their time, their service, and in some cases, their lives.
Thank you very much, Marty McVeigh. Sylvester Turner, pensions.
There's only one person up here who has taken an employee retirement system of 200,000 employees with an unfunded liability of $7.5 billion and costing the state $500 million a year and made it actuarially sound. The governor just signed House Bill 9 with 3 authors, Otto, Dan Flynn over pensions, and Sylvester Turner. You're not paying the $500 million anymore. Employees are paying more. The state's paying more. And the funding agency has given the state a thumbs up. Only one person who has taken that and made it actuarially sound.
Chris Bell.
We need to stop digging, but we also need to stop misleading, because the truth of the matter is the mayor is not in a position to cram a solution down the throats of the firefighters. The Houston Chronicle is exactly right when they say the next mayor is going to have to employ a large degree of diplomacy and try to get firefighters to the table, and certainly work with lawmakers like Mr. Murphy to get them to understand that this is not sustainable, and it's not. And I think people will begin to see the light, and hopefully we can work toward a solution, but we're not going to be able to force feed.
Stephen Costello.
Representative Murphy, thank you. I helped draft that bill that Representative Murphy carried to Austin for us on our behalf for local control. And I was the only person, elected official, that went to Austin and defended that bill before the Pensions Committee. If you remember anything before you leave today, is local control. We need the ability to define the benefit package and not leave it up to the politicians in Austin to regulate our pension systems. Local control. That's what you remember when you leave tonight.
Adrian Garcia.
I agree that local control is sorely needed, but also keeping in mind that promises made ought to be promises kept. But the obligations that we're paying right now on all of the pensions was not the deal made in 2001. As an example, you know, the municipal pension was to go from 10% to 15%. It went from 10% to 50%. And when I was on council along with Tony and working with Bill White, we were able to ratchet some of that back down.
Thank you very much, Adrian Garcia. Appreciate it. Ben Hall, 30 seconds on pensions.
I am in favor of local control, but let me say, local control to do what? What are you going to do once you have local control? I agree that we have to deal with this as 2 components. One are legacy obligations, those that were made by prior politicians that we have to honor. The Constitution requires us to do so. As current employees, I believe in fixed contribution pension obligations. That is, we are going to define how much money the taxpayers are going to contribute toward the pension plan as opposed to the risk in the market.
Thank you very much, Bill King. Last word on pensions.
I tell you, the last thing I want is Houston City Council in control of our pensions. That is the worst idea that I've heard so far tonight. Michael Kubash, would you agree with me on that? Look, we need a law that specifies new employees shall be in defined contribution plans. That's the only way we're going to get out of this problem. And anybody who's not talking about moving us from defined benefit to defined contribution plans is not being serious about this problem. Because as long as elected officials have the opportunity to promise one group...
Thank you very much, Bill King.
Read my columns.